PTI furnish you with a geologic report?
A very cursory geological report, yes, sir.
They gave you a geologic report.
I'll be glad to show you what it looks like. It's just a very superficial report because
I can see why.
they weren't able to get on the land.
All they had to do was ask. Let me read something here to you, sir.
All right.
And this is from the commission's own report. And choosing these, and screening it up to Department T, the drainage sites down 235 parcels, and then you have 18 sites. And the standards to judge these sites by, number one, existence of faulty dikes, determination of rock type and estimated quality designation, RQD. The RQD is percentage rock core recovery calculated from drilling wells to deleting all pieces of core less than 4 inches long. Determination of soil characteristics regarding liquid chemical and so forth from soil testing, and determination of other parameters for basal, deep bedrock, depths of groundwater, and aquifer. Now those are the requirements. And those people never got on the ground. I am a geologist. I've spent my whole life in geology. And the basic requirement of any geologic report is to go to the ground, and get samples of soil, you take a little bucket with you, spray it up, and bring it back and have it tested. There's no way in the world you can see faults by looking through a fence. You can't see a dike by looking through a fence. You can't examine a core that hasn't been taken. You can't examine the water table and that core in drilling. Now they did do one of these things, and yet they're chosen number 3 on geology.
First of all, sir, I agree with what you just said.
Well, that's all
They
you
could
say.
not.
That's it.
They could, no, I need to give an explanation. I allowed you one.
Yes, sir.
They had two geologists. They had their own geologists, and we also had another company and their geologists, so that we would have sufficient also professional registered geologists. They looked at all of the North Carolina soil maps. They looked at the National Geologic Survey maps.
Yes, sir.
And there was never any question that this was all the information they had. They were never on the site.
This is required.
What geologic information they had came from those maps and from the knowledge of the professional geologists like yourself. We said from the beginning we will never be able to know exactly what is on these properties without getting on the site and doing what you just described. That's why that we haven't chosen the site, is because we're not certain that the property here or the property in Iredell land will meet those criteria.
Well, how did you use the microgeology to come back here and scare the living daylights out of 30,000 people?
We did not, sir. Geology was just one of many of the rules and the procedures that we apply.
When we got down to the final 18, we have listed 2 columns. Geology, nearness to a road. Now, if it had been geology, it had to be the heavier of the 2, because if the road, we'd have been number 1, we're 2/10 of a mile. You go to Cabarrus County, 17 miles of a road, but yet they are 15 or 16 in geology, and they shouldn't be anywhere. So geology has to be an important part of those 2.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't agree with that, because it was considered. This is me personally speaking, not as chairman of the commission. I certainly considered, when I was looking at all of those 18 properties, I considered geology, but I considered everything else as well. I hope every commission member, and I expect every commission member did the same. I did not use geology as a deciding factor, because I recognized that our geological information was very sparse.
And you further state that they use the North Carolina geologic map, which is beautiful. It's about 8 feet long, about 4 feet wide. 580 acres, which you promised us first, which has grown now to 900 some. 580 acres is less than 1 square mile. You put 1 square mile on that map of geology in North Carolina, it will occupy a square 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch. And you tell me those people did geology on that?
Sir, I'm not a geologist, so I can't argue that point. I'm saying that we had professional geologists like yourself who examined the material, and however we understand the geologic data is very insufficient. That's why we need to do some drilling. We admit that. It is very insufficient. And it may turn out that this property or any other property
Do you think
that we now have under consideration will be satisfactory. We don't know that.
Your requirement,
We know.
your requirements
Good.
state right here that this has to be done, and it cannot be done without people on the ground doing it.
It will be, sir, it has to be done before
No,
we can
this-
get a permit.
This is done to get the 18. This is done in
No,
secret.
sir.
It's done in a secret on these things that you say. The sequence of events, this come in on Tuesday the 18th.
May I see the document, sir?
You can go
The
on.
flow chart shows the same document,
Mr. Hennett can come on.
knocked out, some on geology.
Look at the paragraph just before the requirement. That's
Oh.
what, yeah. that's
But
right.
based purely on geologic screening, the geologic,
Ooh,
wait,
ooh.
it says, wait, the last paragraph after you read all of
All
those.
right, go
The
ahead.
geologic screening based on maps and available data such as
Where are you
geological.
reading that? Where are you reading that?
The sentence just,
Reading from.
but if you read the end, what it says
Yeah,
is,
Mr. Hennett, or that, he comes out and all those extras.
I am sorry, I didn't add the extra, this is in the document
The
that you were
first
just
thing,
referring
the
to.
first thing that says he will do those things.
Says we will do what we can through geologic screening based on maps and available data, such as geological literature and county soil surveys. And with that screening, this is what we've done. And we have been upfront in saying that that is inadequate. We need to do drilling.
You need to do drilling first, according to requirements.
You can't do drilling if you can't get on the property, sir.
You've got permission. I've worked all over the United States. I never asked to learn more about life.
How do you think?
Ah. We don't do it that way, sir.
Do you think we would have gotten if we'd have sent a drill rig down and say, look, Cap, we want to go out there on your farm and drill a little bit. We're looking for a good site for a hazardous waste treatment plant. What do you think they'd tell you?
Same thing you said when you come back. Same thing.
Everything we're gonna say when we go to court.
Exactly.
No, I can answer that.
Well, you can answer it any way you want to, but I'm just telling you what the facts of
I
life
know.
are.
We know the facts.
All right, that's pretty much, Bill, excuse me
Wait,
now.
one more thing. I witnessed him at drill rigs. I worked for all the oil companies in the United States. I've got hundreds of thousands of acres to test the drill, core drills and everything. We go to the people and tell them. We walk up to him, knock on the door, some man, there's a proof thing drill rig with him. He walks up and introduces himself, tell him who he is, asks him for permission. And sometimes he says no.
Well, the reason he lets you do that is because he's hoping you're gonna find oil on his land and he's gonna get a lot of money. But we're not bringing oil.
Or a dairy queen.
Or a Dairy Queen either.
Anything but breathe.
Well, I'm sorry about that. That's one
Go
of the
through
problems
rules
we've
and
got.
regulations, and anytime you go to court and pay sales certificate, and it's competent geologist, you're gonna find you're wrong.
May I ask one question? DOT has a law that allows the state to enter upon land without condemning for the purpose of doing just what he's talking about and checking it out. Do you operate under that law or do you not? Did you not get on there?
Our counsel is here. Yvonne, would you mind telling us, please?
And you not operate under that law?
Can you describe that law again?
DOT does not have to condemn to walk on property and determine to do surveys and to do any investigation they want to do for a project.
They have a law that's in the general statutes that applies to the Department of Environmental Health and Natural Resources, and a paragraph was added to apply to this commission. And under that statute, that's the letters that were recently sent out and served on people quoted that statute, and you should have got a copy of that statute. That statute allows them to enter on land within 30 days of
Without
notice.
condemning. Could not they have used that to check all of these sites if they wanted to?
They are in the process of doing that now.
I said all of them, not these two.
They could
Do that first.
They could do that
First.
around the whole
The
state.
paragraph
Oh, that's
says
right.
that-
That's what I thought.
We could have sent out notices to every county that had one of the 18 sites.
You didn't have to ask for permission.
No, we didn't have
Right.
to ask for
Okay,
permission.
that's all I wanted to get straight. Thank you.
Yeah, we did have to ask.
It just seems to me that if you had done that, it would have been a much less stressful situation. You wouldn't have had a guy dropping dead out there in the western part of the state because this had happened, and you wouldn't have people here so upset.
Yes, you would.
May I
I
ask
think
you
it's the
another
first
question
time
about
you and I
timing?
disagree.
But that's the extent.
Since we didn't have anything to do with all of the input about our July 9th meeting. Is that when it's supposedly to be? Is that the date?
That's correct.
That's what I heard.
We would like to ask you to allow us to make the decision about the date of that meeting, and we prefer that it not be until after we're cited, right?
Well, there's no problem with changing the date, except there is not much of a leeway. Just before we came up here, we were talking, trying to get in touch with the people at the Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Division, because this is a record hearing, and they're involved, to ask them what the situation would be and what changes could be made. We weren't able to get in touch with them. We left a message for them, and we will ask about that. One of the things is that we probably will not be able to postpone that meeting until after the preferred site is selected. Because if we do, we're going to run into the same problem we've had all the time, our tight time schedule. But I'm not saying to you that if we have a public hearing and then this site is not chosen, we certainly will, it won't matter, we'll cancel it. I mean, we're not going to hold it just for no reason. So, but we will talk about the date and see to make sure it's suitable, and it's available and suitable to the site demonstration review committee.
Well, one more thing, was that testing all 18, how do you know there aren't better ones than this one? You just gonna drill these two?
If I was only going to do it on the basis of geology, sir, I would have done it that way. But we considered many other things.
Well, if it's impossible, the other side's a lot better than this, if you won't know about it before you get thoroughly tested.
Sir, I've never said that these two pieces of property are the best pieces in the state. I'd have to look at every single drill and every single piece of property in the state to find out.
Are you gonna do that?
No, sir.
You gonna do the 18 that way?
No, sir, we don't do that.
That's why you're not gonna do it.
I say we're not. I shouldn't say we're not. Because if we drilled on these two pieces and neither one of them was satisfactory, we would have to go back to the 16 remaining.
That's a big deal. Excuse me.
Let me get back on asking, I keep having trouble with your name. Anyway, your parent company, ThermalKEM, is an interesting name. Can you give us some of the history of the West German holdings? When were they formed? When were they?
I don't have all that detail off the top of my head. I'd be glad to provide it to you in terms of when the holding company was brought about, the businesses they've been in over the term of that history. I can get that to you.
How many years experience would you say they had? Overall?
I don't know off the top of my head, say 20 years, something like that.
Has that parent company in Germany or their primary owners in Germany ever had environmental accidents, spills, or been cited by governmental agencies?
The holding company or their parents?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about the parents. I don't know the detail on those three
Does
companies.
anybody here know? Does anybody care?
I don't know the answer to that. We can provide you with information on the history of parent companies and clients' histories.
I'm surprised to hear that answer because I've read about a number of instances about this. I don't have the information with me now, but you guys aren't informed. Who is?
Well, there have been some allegations against ThermalKEM in regards to several issues, and we've explained those. We have copies on file. I've discussed those issues in the past.
I understood there were shutdowns.
There was a revoking of the licenses to deal in nuclear fuels because of some allegations that
I
were
thought you
made.
didn't know anything about it.
Well, if you have a specific instance, I'll be glad to discuss it. That one in particular I brought up, and I'll discuss it with you if you'd like. It was a serious situation taken seriously by the German government, and it should have been. They revoked the license pending investigations. Supposedly fuels were mishandled. They did a thorough investigation. The city of Hanau, the district attorney did an investigation. The International Atomic Energy Commission did an investigation, and Euratom did an investigation. They could find no substance to the allegations. 6 months later, they reinstated the license, and that was the end of that. I believe one of the newspapers in the state was called over to confirm that and got the exact same story.
I'd like to ask a question about
No, I'm going to follow up a couple more lessons on this particular question.
No, I got something else for you.
You were one of the firms, American Newcomb again, who recommended to the Hazardous Waste Management Commission. Can you tell me what the criteria was and how you came about to establish these sites?
Joe, do you want to address that? We found, I think, I can just say generically, we found 6 or 7 sites under the criteria we were given that we thought were suitable. They all ranked fairly high.
How did you optimize that?
We did, we said these 6 or 7 sites were suitable.
Dartboard?
We looked at geological criteria, we looked at the available space, the 1,000-foot buffer that the state has required. We looked at availability of water. Does it seem like there would be water available
Where's the water availability?
here?
Yeah.
I don't know specifically. I'd have to look at the report. I didn't do it.
To do the level of review that we conducted, preparing a report that us be talking about or discuss our recommendation. After the commission and their consultant had spent several months compiling data, we spent several days reviewing that data for the 18 remaining parcels. And we spent several days driving around in the area that the 18 parcels were located. We drove in the Statesville area. We basically split it up into pretty much 3 areas. Areas that were in the Charlotte region of the state, areas that were in the Statesville and Winston-Salem area of the state, and then parcels that were in what we call the eastern portion of the state. We looked at several things. Water was one of them, size was another. Road access was a third. We drove each of the routes that we thought would probably represent the transport route. We spent pretty much, we made at least 2 visits to each parcel, and we had 3 people involved, including a geologist who reviewed all the geological data that was available for each of the 18 parcels that had been accumulated and stored at PEI's offices in Durham. In an effort to not identify any individual one, we found some that were clearly better than others. But we found acceptable parcels in each of the 3 general areas of the state, and there was only a few of the parcels that we felt were unacceptable. And those that were unacceptable already had houses on them, so they didn't meet the criteria with respect to roads, bisecting the parcels. So basically, we had 3 people review data and drive around the facilities, and based on what we saw, come up with recommendations in each of